Well, good evening, folks. How the heck are you? It's your host, Sergeant Friday. Sorry for the blank intro there, but my previous intro with music, which was I got it from a website that it was free and for public use, but I'm keep getting flagged every time I do a stream with that intro. So no more of that intro from me. What's going on, Peggy Sue or Peggy Sue, or I don't know how you say what you say, but yeah, just say it. We're getting 8 people here. We'd like for a few people to join. But tonight we're going to go over the Bryan Koberger versus Cy Ray. It's shaping up to be a good bout in the welterweight division. In the blue corner, we have Bryan Christopher Koberger, an accused and admitted quadruple homicide felony burglary inmate in the state of Idaho, versus Cy Ray, once his defense expert in his corner, working with him and getting the conditioning to prevent him from going to prison, now turned turncoat, and is in the red corner. So that's what the stream will be about. Oh, you find yeah, that shit was a long stream. I can't believe you would listen to that whole stream. These streams do get out of hand, man. They can go for a long time, but I guess there's good to that and there's bad to that. I don't even know what to say, but these streams can last several hours. It's kind of weird. I didn't intend that to happen yesterday. I was actually hell bent on that not happening, but then Dago joined, which was nice, and Kathy joined, which was nice, and then Twiz joined, which was nice, and then Drago joined, which was nice, and before you know it, you got a multi-hour stream. It's kind of, what's up, Alicia? What's up, JK? And yeah, it gets, when it's interesting, it's interesting. What are you going to do? So, Bryan Koberger versus Cy Ray for the championship of the world here. What do you guys think of that Cy Ray, huh? Boy, oh boy, what a turncoat he turned into. Unbelievable. He's coming out swinging. Yeah, look, I've said all along, both can be true, right? Both can definitely be true. Bryan Koberger could be guilty, and the way the case was managed is what is going to set him free. And I hate to repeat myself. That probable cause affidavit, that 18 pages of nonsense, is the only reason I got involved in true crime. I don't even know how I came across it, in all fairness. I heard about the murders, and then nothing happened for quite some time, and then all of a sudden there was an arrest, and that probable cause affidavit came forward. And so I started looking for that case on the internet, on YouTube specifically, and came across streamers, and I think Dago was one of the first streamers that I went into. I tried listening to that guy T-Rev, but he's a little pipsqueak that's about, he's got about as much worth to society as an anchor does on a fucking bicycle. It's just, he was a goofball. I had to, and he doxed me, that little creep. Not that it, I'm nothing to worry about. I mean, dox me, I don't care. But if I get any hassle from it, and I know you dox me, and I can prove you dox me, then I'm going to take your ass to court. But I listened to a few streamers, and then I was in Dago's in the chat room, like all yous are with the streams you're watching. And I made some comments, and the comments I made was that was the worst arrest affidavit I've ever read in my life. It was fully exculpatory. That the affidavit said that Bryan Koberger was nowhere near the house and couldn't be placed anywhere in the world between the hours of 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. Right? So, I mean, at that point, what is this argument? He was at the house. How do you make an argument like that? And the funny thing is, I think this case is going to do good for America if he gets past this post-conviction relief phase. Yeah. Dago was very generous. He gave a lot of people time and space on his channel. A lot of people went there just so that they could bounce off that. I don't know, with reasons to get into their own stream and make money and blase. I never asked for money, and I still won't ask for it. Um, not to be a braggart or suggest that I'm a millionaire or something, but more so on the topic. Um, I think it's a serious topic. I think there's a lot of important information in this case. I think, hi, SHT and all that in chat. Who's HHT? Yeah, Dago's giving a lot of people a microphone, right? I mean, he didn't give me my $7.99 microphone or my $120 microphone that died or my $79 microphone that died. Dago didn't give me those. But he gave me a chance for my voice to be heard, which was very pleasant of him. And yeah, I returned the favor without getting into any details. But when he was having some issues, I helped him out. Dago is a good man. Let's see here. What do we got? Bryan Koberger versus Cy Ray. What's going on, JK? What's going on, Thomas Sharp? What's going on, Eric Johnson? Yo, Alicia. Terry Martin. Oh my. We're getting a few people in here. Yeah, so we're up to about 28 viewers. That's pretty awesome. If you can hit like if you can. It's not going to promote me for any kind of monetary reward, but it will get the stream out to other listeners that may not know that I exist. And that's pretty awesome. This way I don't wear out the same ears every time I get up here. I can get new ears to wear out. All right, so let's see here. Now, Brian Etten had another episode, and I'm not going to play that episode. I thought I was going to go through that episode tonight, but I think if I asked the chat room, how many of you seen the newest episode of Cy Ray with Steve on Brian Etten show? How many of you seen that? Yeah, 1, 2, no. It's an hour and 22-minute long interview, and I'm not so sure that I want to get into playing that across here. I don't know the ins and outs of streaming these people's stuff, and I don't really want to. If it's not a friendly channel, I don't want to put Brian Etten in my recordings or in my stream. Kind of personally, I just don't want to do that. If it's another streamer and they're okay and they're not going to give me a strike, then I'm more than happy to do that with their information. But it demands an explanation of how he drove past 30 plus cops twice, going to and returning from a homicide. Where's that collection of videos? Well, I think Cy Ray confirmed what Ann Ray couldn't actually get across to the court. Morning there, Mark and Betty. I think what Cy Ray was telling us today was what Ann was trying to impress upon the court when she was asking what came first, the car or the DNA. And in all actuality, it was the DNA. I mean, that backhanded way of catching criminals. Look, I don't want a murderer released from jail if they're a factually proven murderer. But I don't want a murderer captured because you create your own fucking rules. And you violate your constitutional limit. And any agency or any person that works in the government, be it the police force, they've got limits that they're supposed to adhere to. And when you don't do that, then unfortunately you're going to release back into society a murderer, right? Or a drug dealer or a bank robber or a wife beater or whoever the hell it is that you arrested. There's rules that you have to follow, and these folks don't follow the rules. And then the one thing maybe I give Cy Ray a little bit of leeway because Cy Ray confirms what I said the very first time I entered this chat. When it came into being part of true crime, I came from politics where I took a 2-year hiatus from politics. I couldn't take it no more. All the conspiracy theories and the bickering and so I took a 2-year internet break. I stayed off of social media to the extent of any kind of broadcasting, any kind of Twitter or X or YouTube, and I did normal life things, which I still do with cars and swimming and girls and friends and I did a lot more of that for 2 years. And then I saw this case, and this case captured me with that probable cause affidavit. And if you listen to a lot of professionals that understand the limits of the Constitution placed upon them as law enforcement, they'll tell you what I've said right in the very beginning. Your experience that criminals turn their phone off to mask their location should never be anywhere in a warrant. That's the last place that information belongs. unless it's followed up by proof that person turned their phone off. Somebody can verify that 100%, and that turning that phone off is relevant to the accusation being made. And the way they assembled all of this information is this: they built a story based on bullshit, on coulda, woulda, shoulda. And now Mr. Cy Ray is out there telling you that Bryan Koberger unequivocally committed this crime. I don't think Cy Ray has any more valid information. That, it's kind of like what I think is attractive in a woman, my friend may not find attractive. It's just an opinion, right? And even an expert comes down to an opinion. Let's never forget that. And opinions are like assholes. We all got them. So, in this particular case, Cy Ray now playing this game out publicly, I think he's doing a lot to actually benefit the position that Bryan Koberger's in, whether he knows it or not. I don't even think he realizes what he's doing. I really think that that Cy Ray is so bent on being the only one that's right, the only one that knows the truth, the only one that can prove the case. He's so full of himself that it goes beyond reasonability. I don't know. Have you ever had friends like that? I had a friend. Everything they had was the best, and no matter what it was, they were better than everyone else, and their stuff was better, and they could sell a cat litter box and want $50 for the cat litter box because it was something they owned and it was the best when they bought it, and it's the best now that they're selling it. It's like, man, I'll bury your fucking head in cat litter. Get that away from me. And yet they're also the ones, just so you know, the people that live like that are the quickest ones to lie. It's quite interesting watching Cy Ray do these fucking mental gymnastics to argue the guilt for the person that he was working for. I don't even know, man. I mean, how can you trust a judicial system that depends on experts when now we've got an expert doing something we've never seen an expert do before? How do you trust these people now? How does any expert? Now are all experts going to be held to a standard of silence that's never been initiated in the past? Because in the past, people that were experts understood what they were to talk about, not talk about, and they moved from this case to the next case. Just like we do when we go to work, we move from one client to another client or from one part to another part, right? I mean, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? There's seriously something wrong with him. He has something to prove. And I think the only person he's trying to prove it to is himself. And that's when you know you're on the crazy train. He tells you that they could pinpoint him in the house, but maybe not in the house. One time he's in Seattle. They're claiming he was in New Orleans. He's telling you that all of this stuff isn't fingerprint worthy. And I've been saying this about DNA and other stuff. It's not the equivalent of a fingerprint. These people have used television shows and they've used the public media systems to tell America what this is and what that is. And they've lied to us consistently. I just think in Koberger versus Ray, I think Koberger has the upper hand. I think Koberger is actually going to be able to benefit. What's up, Joanne, Nancy, Corey? Who's in here? Terry Martin, I said hi to. Nancy Rode, the Snooper Ray. Yeah. What's up, Christina? Ty Van? Yeah, see, I'm glad. Yeah, it's a shame I had a big falling out with Jules, but unfortunately, I stand my ground. When it's got nothing to do with right or wrong, but when you're treated terribly by somebody, and Jules publicly berated me in a way that was just uncalled for, only later on to see that I was true in the statements I'd been making. And here's the other irony. If I've made statements, understand anything I've ever said was never for self-grandization or for self-promotion. And more importantly, self-promotion would lead to a bigger income because I get nothing for doing this. I don't want anything. I enjoy doing this. It's awesome. I mean, and I've met like Kathy and Dago and a whole bunch of people that I've enjoyed. Jesse and Twiz, and there's dozens and dozens of people, all my moderators in here that I've interacted with. And so you know, I think, I just think, on the up and I've tore into people too. I'm not an innocent fucking wallflower. I've torn into people on the basis that I thought was right. Like I tore into WSU Kim. I mean, I don't want people like Cy Ray telling me a story with no receipt. Now it turns out that much of what she said was accurate um, after the fact, right? So I'm not saying what I did was right, but I'm saying if you don't have evidence to support your point of view, then you need to just keep it to yourself. I mean, share it with a couple of close friends if need be. Write it down and put a date on it and take a picture of it, you know, if you need to be patted on the back for it. But don't come out telling the community all of this information that's unverifiable. That's where I really, you know, like I know I've come up with some crazy theories, but I tell you what I haven't done. You've never seen me go to the Whites. You've never seen me go to the grub truck. You've never seen me go to the park. You've never seen me go to Linda Lane. You've never heard me do any of that. Those are not part of this case. There's nothing in these documents that connect us to those different locations, although those different locations may have something to do with the case, but the key word is may. And so when I tried, like when I put up that particular, what is that weapon, that fire department tool to open doors, a Hagen or something, a Hagen, I don't know what you call it. I do that only because information in the autopsies led me to that, to look for a weapon that would cause the wounds that they're reporting. Not to create controversy or conspiracy theories, but because that a 4-inch round hole is it's an amazing fucking wound. It's beyond comprehension. So I try to stick with the, no, it's what she did to me, Corey. I didn't do anything to her. She was on a panel one night and just ripped me apart for making claims that there were 3 locations on that sheath that were tested. And that wasn't true. And I'm making it up and blah, blah, blah. Fact of the matter was there was a document that showed that. And it was the sheath, it was the button snap, and it was inside the sheath. Those were the 3 locations I stated that the police had done. Come to find out that those 3 locations are accurate, a little bit more accurately defined, but inside the sheath referred to inside the belt loop, right? So, you know, look at it was nonsense, but I didn't need to be tore apart and called a liar, and I'm no better than this person at the time named Dot who was coming out here making up blatant stories. And I just didn't, there was just no need to go that far. There was never any bad words between us until then. And, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is, but I hold my ground. I have no interest in interacting with a person that's going to react that way and then not apologize. It's okay. It's okay to make a mistake, and it's okay to attack me, and then, or even if I'm making up some wild claims that aren't related to the case. If I used to like Drip Drop, TikTok, whatever the fuck his name is, talking about people parachuting and da 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 da, tunnels under the house. How many people did that? Reflections on car paint and shit. I just can't do that. You see all these people with these videos in there. I don't know. I just can't get into it. I don't think you're going to solve the crime. I think that's one thing that true crime. Oh, I'm nowhere near as close to being. Yeah, thanks, Pamela. If that's a fucking reassuring pat on the back, I don't know what is, right? You're nowhere near close to being as bad as that, you bitch. What the hell is that? You call me Dot Junior from now on, right? What up, Dot Junior? There's a woman that saw everything. It changed her story 4 times in one fucking interview. Nah, he hasn't the public's view. No offense to Dot, but she lied. Yeah, she told a lot of stories, but Cy Ray is self-grandizing. And we're all guilty of doing that, including me. I don't look at it. I'm not going to say anything about anybody and then make the claim I never did that, because I'm sure somewhere in the few years I've been alive, I've done it too. But I think it's because I've done it too that I can recognize it when I see it. Right? And Cy Ray is just making a fucking mess of this. Literally making a massive mess of this. Yeah, and I kind of let her have it. I drove her out of the room. She contradicted herself, just like Cy Ray is contradicting himself. I mean, you live in tiny little communities over there. 75 feet away from somebody is 75 feet. I mean, so what if he's at the same gas station as her? I mean, the stuff that he's arguing that shows a pattern of behavior that put him in contact with these people is bullshit. That's his interpretation, if it exists at all. Whitcomb, I think, did a service. He pointed out some pieces of data that I think we were all pointing to the whole time. If you look at what Whitcomb did, especially with the limited knowledge that most of us people in the chat room and or the people that stream like me, we're right down into the granule of it. We're right down into the microscopic DNA sample. We're buried in this case. Yeah, and Rory played everybody. Rory was trying to, and I didn't know Rory was playing people, but Rory came in and he was a very affable, very pleasant, easy to get along with guy. And the whole thing was he was trying to set himself up to be part of Paramount Plus or whatever. And I don't object to that, but I think that it's only fair that the people you're associating with and bringing up on your stream, look at all the people I had in here last night. What if I'm doing this for the benefit of fucking MSNBC or something? Shouldn't they be aware? Yeah, Cy now puts him in the living room. Cy could put Bryan Koberger in New Orleans when he was in fucking Seattle. Cy has got the power, man. And look at, here's the worst thing he's doing. Maybe you guys aren't noticing this, but I'm rough on Steve G. I'm probably as rough as anybody is on Steve G. And I think Steve G's best option was to just shut the fuck up. Period. Right? And look what Cy is telling Steve G. He's basically telling Steve G that this case is so fucked up from the floor up that Bryan Koberger is most likely going to be released. Now, he's not saying it in those words, but imagine being the father. Right? Imagine being the father of one of the victims. And even though this guy is agreeing with him that Bryan killed these girls, he still wants to use this, man. He still wants to use the same convoluted, happy horseshit interpreted evidence that isn't direct evidence. It's his opinion as an expert. I mean, come on. It's insane. It's literally insane. And then he's telling the father that the case, and the father knew the case was fucked up. This is the thing I've said all along about Steve. He knows. He knows. He might even know that Bryan did this in a way that you and I don't have information to validate it. But I'm afraid that his knowledge of Bryan Koberger's involvement is partial at best. I don't deny the fact that Bryan Koberger could easily have been involved in this murder. I don't deny that at all. I don't deny the fact that Bryan Koberger could be easily not involved with this murder. Both of those things are unknowable, except to Bryan Koberger. You have no direct evidence. This DNA is a bunch of happy horseshit on a sheet that wasn't mentioned for 3 days. On a sheet that was claimed to be found on a floor, on a sheet that has no chain of custody, so bad the chain of custody that the state lab wouldn't even accept the evidence for testing and sent it back to fucking Idaho or to Moscow. I mean, how much more do you need to know? That's dead. The whole IgG process is a waste of fucking time. They should never pursued it. Once the chain of custody was broke with the sheath, they should have just left it alone. And here's the worst part. They get the sheath. I can't look, and I think I'm relatively smart on some things. I think I'm relatively capable of learning rather quickly on topics I'm interested in. And I think I can absorb and then interpret what I've learned in a very simple or in a more simple way than it may take to be learned. And when you have cotton swabs with blood samples on them and cotton swabs with nothing on them, how is it that you don't go after those blood samples? You need to know right away if they belong to the victims. And if they don't, then you need to do everything you need under the sun to get the identity who these blood samples belong to. Were the unknown male DNAs from one individual? Were there 5 unknown male DNA bloods in that house? Were there 4? Were there 3? Was it one guy in 5 places? Is it 2 guys in 5? I mean, what the fuck? Right? I mean, what kind of a Keystone Cop investigation is this? You literally have blood from unknown males or male, but we don't know. We don't know if it's male or males or How about unknown blood from a woman? I think that may also be part of this. Maybe the hair would have given you an idea of a woman. It's rather frustrating. And I could see, I don't even know, man. But Bryan Koberger, when it comes to Bryan versus Cy Ray is doing more to benefit Bryan Koberger than he can even imagine. For all the people that think Koberger's guilty, congratulations. Koberger's own defense team is telling you what we've been trying to tell you for the last 3 fucking years. That guilt or innocence is actually secondary to the process used to obtain that information. Now what? Now what? You're right, but this kid's probably going to go free if he gets through this process. And if he doesn't get through it here, he's going to go to another court. Cy Ray's telling you that they have evidence. That evidence is not going to be admissible, right? Correct, Thomas. I mean, it's just that everything they did was contrary to the actual narrative. How did they know to go with that rather than anything else? That's another question that has to be asked. How is it that they knew the Q-tip that they used to swab the strap where the button is located? How did they know that that particular Q-tip was going to be more beneficial than blood? Why did they focus on going to IgG with that particular sample? Right? Why did that knife sheath only show up 3 days after the initial fucking tragedy? Why is it being told to be in 2 locations? Why are the state lab denying its acceptance to be tested? Why do we have all these problems with that knife sheath? And the only answer look at a reasonable answer is it was planted. Period. And the DNA as well. Yeah. I'd go so far as to say the DNA as well. I'd go so far to say, like he was saying today, the DNA that they swabbed was identified the father, didn't identify Bryan. They're covering up, and they made a lie, and they started with a lie. And I'll tell you another reason for an appeal is Judge Hippler. Judge Hippler knew that stuff couldn't be allowed into court. The genealogy work and or the DNA. That's why it was called a tip. Or especially the genealogy work. The DNA may have found its way in there somehow, but the genealogy work, the way they got Bryan Koberger's name, he told the defense and the prosecution to come to an agreement on how to use that as a tip. And that just, how is that within the fucking guidelines of the constitutional limits placed on government? How is he allowed to tell the prosecution and the defense how they're going to interpret a piece of evidence and how it was collected? He can't do that. He did it, don't get me wrong. But you can't do that. And Hippler did do that in court. I mean, you want to talk about a miscarriage of justice, there's just one blatant example. The prosecution and the defense, you two need to get together and figure out what you can agree on regarding that tip. And if I was the defense, I said, I can't agree on shit, but what's the truth? That's all I can agree on is the truth. And the truth means that it needs to be removed from evidence. That's the truth. And if you can't, as a judge, accept it, then you shouldn't be a judge, right? I mean, there's a lot of jobs. He's got a lot of degrees, a lot of fucking, go back and be a lawyer, you fucking idiot, but not a judge. So on that alone, I think Bryan Koberger, when it comes to a miscarriage of justice, on that alone, I think you end up with the ability to win what he's going for, and ultimately exclude that evidence from a trial, because without the DNA, there's nothing that places Bryan in that home. This guy can talk all the bullshit he wants, but he admits that he can't place Bryan in that home on that night, right? And now here's the other problem. If you're going to claim Bryan was in that neighborhood, it's a drug neighborhood. Let's be honest. I know there's college students there, but that's where you go and get drugs. And that neighborhood wasn't the upper class neighborhood of that community, right or wrong. What was he doing over there? I was picking up some hookers. I was getting a blowjob in the back lot. What were you doing down at the root beer store? I was getting fucking root beer for the hooker so she could rinse out her mouth. I'm fucked up. But I'm just saying, I mean, you can't say that everything you see on that fucking phone location, interpret it to the fact that he's connected to these victims. You can't do that. I mean, what the fuck? You caught that one, didn't you, Hot? Hot 22 boy 901. Yeah, I think you might be right. I think originally he had a Washington plate and it turned, or no, he had a Pennsylvania plate that turned over to Washington. How long after the murders did he get his plate changed? Do you guys know? And I wish Lucy was in here. I do get a kick out of Lucy. Although sometimes she says shit that confuses me. It sounds like she's like, I don't know. You think that empty room was all drug deals or Xanax? I think that empty room downstairs contained things that we're never going to know were in there. So November 18th, and they say they came up with Bryan's name November 15th, right? Or November 19th. Yeah. But I'm trying to suggest to you that Bryan Koberger's car sat in that lot for 5-6 days before anybody actually noticed it. What license plate did they grab it under? The Washington or the Pittsburgh plate? Yeah, he was required to that plate was coming up for a renewal anyway. I mean, Bryan Koberger didn't go out of his way to change his license plates. Bryan Koberger changed his license plates because it was time to renew his registration. And he did it for Washington because he planned to stay in Washington for the next few years. You know, who knows? Maybe he would have made a life out of it. Maybe he would have become a college student. I don't know. So they caught him with the Washington plates after yeah. So, but they're pulling him over though. Didn't the pulling him over come before this crime? Therefore, they would have been Pennsylvania plates. Yeah. I think it's very confusing. Yeah, one cop found PA and the other found Washington. There you go. Moonbreaker. Someone said, hey, Moonbreaker in the house. On the 25th or the 29th, anyway. Yeah, what a mess. And Cy Ray is only making it easier for Bryan Koberger. Because I'll tell you what, with Cy Ray, he's giving Bryan Koberger a roadmap. Right? Cy Ray's going into a boxing ring, and he's got both hands tied behind his back, and his face is painted as a red bullseye. Right? Cy Ray is laying out the case on how they trampled all over Koberger and how they lied and how their investigation can't even be fucking sustained. That's why we all know that's one of the reasons why the prosecution was so hell bent on getting a plea deal. It was 3 years later. What were they going to do now when trial was coming up? I think the people that feared trial more than anyone else was the prosecution, not Bryan. And I think Ann dropped the ball. I think Ann is another part of this problem that isn't really discussed. I think that she has a role that's been played in this. And I think that may be, it's not even, I don't mind Cy Ray saying he came in thinking he was guilty and he decided he was guilty. He could show that he was guilty. I don't have an objection to the guy being capable of doing that. My problem is the ethics behind what he's doing. And that's really, I mean, he's as concerned, just so you know, if you listen to the guy, and I've listened to quite a bit of his statements being made on these interviews, he knows that transfer DNA in and of itself is not something that you can use to convict somebody for multiple homicides. And I said this right in the beginning. Regardless of what was found in that home, regardless, like I've said 100 fucking times, my gun in your house where you've been shot and killed by that gun does not make me guilty of shooting you. And I think a lot of you are very educated, or at least pretty smart. And I think you can understand what I'm trying to tell you there. You have to build a case and place me in that home at the approximate time of the murder. My gun in your house with my bullet in you doesn't make me the shooter. And that's what police work is for. And in that particular example, I think that's the best example of the Koberger case that I can give you to relate to. They had a gun. It belonged to Bryan. And so they went and built a case to stick Bryan in the house. And they depended upon videos and fucked up information that's just unverifiable. There's no factual basis to support their statements, right? Says G has a video with Bryan Koberger boxing 160 hits per minute. I don't think that can be true, because the gym, the guy that was going to be, he was questioned, the guy in the gym, and Bryan didn't go to the gym to train. Bryan mainly was social and interacted with the people at the gym. Go talk to the gym, the owner of the gym. That was his statement. He said he can't even imagine. He can't be a part of this because Bryan didn't do anything there. Yeah, Steve G is a fucking liar. No, you're not causing problems for me. Why would you jump out of here? If there's a person or people that have a disagreement with you, well, that's between you and them, not me. I don't want to be in the middle of that. Don't even bring that shit up while you're in here. And I told them not to bring it up either. It's none of my business. And if you guys can't sort it out or get along, it's got nothing to do with me, bro. Nothing at all. Almost 4 years and the video was never surfaced. 163 hits in 3 minutes? I don't think so. Maybe. But that takes an awful lot of training to be able to do something like that. That's 3 minutes is one round of boxing. And there's no boxer that throws 163 punches in 3 minutes. There just isn't. It's unsustainable, right? So it's 60 seconds. 6 by 3 is 180. That's almost 3 punches a second. Muhammad Ali couldn't do that. The lightweight champions of the world, the best I've ever seen in a round is maybe, Bryan Koberger versus Mike Tyson, is simply 100, maybe 110 punches per round, a 3 minute round, but that's just rare, and it's not sustainable over the course of a fight. No, Steve G, I don't know. I think the sad part, look at it, you guys know I'm very hard on Steve, but I do have an empathy, a part of me that can empathize with what he's hearing now. Rocky Balboa couldn't punch that many times in 3 minutes. 163 punches in 3 minutes. That's just unimaginable. You go try to punch 163 times in 3 minutes. I don't care anybody what shape they're in. Some of these streamers are younger and in good shape. I'd like to see them try it. I'd like people to I'll tell you what you do. Hold your arms up in a defensive position for 3 minutes. Go stand in front of a clock and just hold your arms there. Tell me what that feels like when you're done. 3 minutes sounds like such a short period of time, and it is, but it can feel like forever. With Willie, who knew him in Penn, said BK was not a boxer even. Yeah, I haven't seen Willie in a long time, and I don't know. I'm a little impartial to folks that are not. I don't even know what word I'm looking for, but you knew him, but he knew of him, or I don't know. Where'd he end up going? Willie's gone from all I know. Throwing punches is totally different than stabbing. Yeah, and where's that nurse that was in here the other night? When we talk about the subclavian vein and the subclavian artery. Yeah, I haven't seen Willie in forever. I don't even know the name of his channel. Yeah, I don't even know the name of his channel. Well, 163 punches in 3 minutes is impossible. But if it were possible, the punching bag don't punch back. Okay? And that's why boxers rarely more than 100 punches per round is just okay. It's Truth Nation and Censored. Yeah, I don't follow him, so I didn't even know he was still out here. I'm not partial to this. I know the guy, I knew this guy, da. And I mean that was his big intro into the true crime community, and it never sat well with me. I don't know. You had Dot doing that. You had a whole bunch of people coming out earlier on, a couple of years ago. They all knew Bryan Koberger, had connections to Bryan Koberger, were friends of a friend of Bryan. I don't even want to hear it, man. Although I don't object to anybody that knew him or was close to him, but to use that as an intro into the true crime, I just didn't go. I don't know. Who cares if you knew the guy? What's that got to do with the price of bread? Nothing. What's that got to do with these murders? Nothing. Zero. Zit. Zilch. Zip. Nada. No more than people that don't know him, right? So to me, it was just like a sideways way to get attention. And I could be wrong, but that's just the way I view it. Dot did the same thing. Other people did the same thing with his knowledge of this or that. And I don't really, I don't know. I don't know. That immediately, it's like, yeah, I don't even care if he did. That's not relevant. That's what I mean. But that was played up early on, and when he started coming around. And look, Willie's a good guy. I'm glad he's still out there streaming. You know, I don't believe anything anybody says, and especially being associated with Koberger, even in a very small way, is not even relevant. What good does that do you? Gets attention of a lot of people. I mean, it does do that, right? More power to you. I know a lot of people too. Does it make me, am I going to get more followers because I had General Flynn's brother and son's phone number in my fucking contact list on my phone? They were following me on Twitter. They would talk to me? Does it make me something special? No. No, it doesn't. Possibly. Only Jules has proof. See, chilling. That's what I'm saying. Bring the paperwork. Congratulations to Jules. And the family should allow them. You know, if the family's going to interact with anybody in streaming or whatever, and I'm glad they are. And if they're interacting with Jules, I think she's personally a very smart person. I just take offense to the way I was treated from somebody that I was always nice to, that could have talked to me directly, could have questioned me and made me provide proof or show me where I was wrong. I would be open to that 100% of the time, and 100 times out of 100. But you know, to handle it like a fucking school age teenager, just not right. He's pretty cool to me, but he don't know him as a friend. Yeah, let's get off talking about other streamers. Everybody, you know, like I said, there's you know, I don't know. I guess influencers. It's 2:00 was the darkest hour, according to one of the family. Bryan was still in his house. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're going to solve this crime. And I think all these streamers like Pav and others that have all this litany and stuff and all the video watching and the noises and the reflections, it's not going to lead you to the killer or killers. That was never my motive for being involved in the case. My motive has always been pretty fucking simple and pretty fucking honest. That this investigation was corrupt, inept, ignorant, backwards, and bullshit. That's what it was. And that's as people, that's what we can help correct. This is our system. Those government workers are our workers. That's what we can affect and correct. And in this particular case, if Cy Ray is anywhere close to accurate, and I don't think that he's that far off, then here's basically what he's saying to you folks. Because they used the DNA to identify a suspect, the DNA's collection, the DNA's handling of the product or whatever was associated with was faulty. It was unlawful. It would be unadmissible evidence. They continued on with the IgG. They got a suspect's name, and then they used whatever available information they could use to daisy chain a series of events to make it appear as if Bryan Koberger showed up at that house. That's in a nutshell exactly what Cy Ray is telling. And I'm surprised he's telling that to the fucking parent, to Steve. That's the craziness. I don't even know, man. So now Steve is sitting there, and I think this is why he's kept his wife out of this. I think this is why you're seeing Steve come forward and his wife sit in the backfield. It's because she don't need to hear this. That's bad news, man. Right? I mean, that's just the worst news you could ever hear. But the argument that he's making, Cy Ray, is the exact argument myself and many others have made. Although most of the other streamers out there have really made it into an entertaining thing. And you know, with all of their theories about who did it. I try to stick with only the suspects named because those are the only people I think are fair game for review. So any of the parties that are named in any of the court documents, I think it's fair to review their involvement or non-involvement. The investigation was an effort to protect a perp and hand you a guy that they maybe that's possible. Right? That's possible. Because I think the killing of these 4 individuals is bigger than some guy that had a hard-on for one of those girls. I mean, but, you know, somebody's saying today, I forget where I heard it, that Maddie was the target. And you could give credence to that. And you can give credence to that because Dylan said, Maddie said, "Good night, I'm going to bed," and went up the stairs with her dog and yelled, "Someone's here." Right? Well, if somebody was there, that indicates that they were upstairs with Maddie. Undeniably true. So maybe Maddie was the target. Maybe it was, I don't know. I don't know what she was doing in her personal life. Maybe maybe there's some relevance to that. That's what I mean. Everything that you've heard, aside from all these people telling you the bodies were brought in from the outside, the grub truck, the Banfield, if that stuff's got anything to do with anything, you're never going to know what it really means or what it has to do with anything. That's the problem. That's why I think, and I agree with Steve to that point, this case has been, it's been overrun with a whole bunch of different craziness. I think some things are fair game. You know, like I went away for almost a year, folks. Some of you know that. Once Bryan pled guilty, nothing else mattered. And it didn't matter unless Bryan were to file for post-conviction relief. Right? And I said that. What's the point? Now, when the book came out, when Turvey came out, there was information that they supplied to the public that was unavailable to us for all those years. And that's when you saw me come back. Something relevant came forward. Yeah, what did Maddie say to Adam? I told him everything. Yeah, well, no, the extent of her wounds, I don't know, Alicia. The extent of her wounds were minor compared to Zana and Kaylee, but then if you want to consider that her wounds were also minor to Ethan. And to exclude Koberger is not my intent. I've never tried to exclude Koberger. Well, no, there's times where I argued he was innocent. And I get that out of frustration because some of the stuff that you hear and some of the documents that they release are like, you got to be joking me. These two things can't be true. And if these two things can't be true, then Bryan couldn't be the killer. But I kind of back off and I kind of correct myself and get back on the trail that I was from the very beginning. This case is more about what was done wrong and how they fucked everything up and their attempt to catch a killer. And if that killer is Bryan Koberger, I think Bryan Koberger now has the perfect defense against the state of Idaho. Just listening to Cy Ray. Yeah, but he had to there, Jenny. Cy Ray said that Maddie was the target because Maddie's phone location was near Bryan's at his apartment complex. She was at a party in Pullman. So what? That's no way to make it determined. That's what I mean. You can't. That's the other problem is people, they read into things. I'm guilty of it too. We read into things like I read into the 4-inch puncture wound and what they did to poor Kaylee. And there's a 2-inch wide wound gash in them. And that's why I went looking for a weapon because Dylan brought up a V. Dylan brought up a fireman, not me. But then when I looked at the autopsy reports, my mind clicked back to what Dylan had said. That's how I came to that tool. But again, I'm sticking within the bounds of what's been given to us by the justice system. I didn't just decide that weapon had to have been used. And I'm not even saying it had to have been used, but I'm saying that weapon, based on what the wounds on Zana and Kaylee were, that weapon fits the bill. you know, I don't know. Maybe they were, but why would they be doing that in secret? I mean, you know, guys aren't like that. I mean, if we got a girl that we think is attractive, we put her on our arm and keep her on our arm. And we want to, you know, we want to go somewhere with her, and we enjoy when other people see us, right? Never bothered me when the woman I was with was getting checked out. I dated this one Asian girl. This girl was striking, but what made her so striking was her hair went all the way down to the floor. That shiny black Asian hair. It was the most incredible hair you'd ever seen in your life. And anywhere we went, kids in high chairs at a restaurant would stop chewing and look at her. You could not look at this girl. Just incredible. And I don't think any guy is, if he's with a girl and he loves the girl or he's into the girl or whatever, doesn't parade around with her. Was it horizontal? Don't be a freak. That stays with me is Maddie saying, I told Adam everything. And the other saying, they're going to get you guys for that. Right. I think that's an important statement made by, it's the last statement I think we've ever heard Maddie make, correct? Aren't those the last words? Isn't it rather shocking, Dylan said? And that's the other thing with Cy Ray. So this guy can whack out 4 victims in just a few minutes, but the 5th victim is just one too many? Come on, Cy. How is the 5th victim one too many? It don't make no sense. But it does make sense when you remember what Dylan said under questioning. I don't know why he didn't attack me. Maybe he knew me or to protect me. What the fuck? And don't make the argument that these people were so scared and so panicked and so distraught that they don't know what they're saying, or that's nonsense. I mean, you can't have it both ways, Cy Ray. And he's literally doing more for Bryan Koberger than he is for the family. And as a matter of fact, it's almost as if he's urinating right in Steve's face. It's kind of incredible that Steve is even involved with this guy. Yeah. This guy did it. I agree. But guess what? Everything the prosecution did was unconstitutional. All the evidence they collected was fruit from the poison tree because their initial arrest warrant was unsustainable with fact. The only fact they had was transfer DNA. And that fact is questionable. And in and of itself, just like my gun on the floor in your house with you shot dead, just like my gun, in and of itself is not enough to convict me of murder. It's not even enough to charge me with murder. As a matter of fact, what they should have done, and Cy Ray doesn't say this, but this is what they should have done. Once they got the IGG tip, they then should have impaneled a grand jury. And there's a lot of times they're already impaneled, but they could have impaneled a special grand jury for felony cases and gave the grand jury the information they had available to them and let the grand jury then issue warrants that even Koberger wouldn't be aware of. Nobody would know. They'd be warrants that were issued to investigate you, tap your phone, track your car. Okay? So, I mean, there's a process that a good prosecutor will follow. There's a process to follow, right? 911 was being called, so he bolted. Yeah, he thought that Dylan of all people was going to call 911. Somehow, he found Zaina, chased her into a bedroom with a 6'4" or 6'2" dude, and was able to overwhelm both of them. And not just overwhelm them, but oh, that poor Zaina. 54 wounds? It's tragic what happened to those young people. And I think the biggest tragedy of all is the poor families. I think Steve knew all along that they made a mistake because he came forward one day on TV and said, I'm going to say what I'm going to say and I'll accept the consequences for it. He said, but there's people in the prosecutor's office that need to do the same thing. You got to admit you made a mistake and stand up and be a man about it. They do. He does go on interviews that support his narrative. And look, I think Cy Ray says it and Steve says it. All right. There's evidence that Bryan Koberger committed the crime. That evidence was never produced in court. It was never used in any application for a warrant. That evidence was never used in any way, shape, or form. It was ignored intentionally because the prosecutor, he called him Santa Claus, and Lee referred to that and laughed, but I've called him Crack-a-Claus from as far back as I can remember, because a crackhead would have made better decisions than Bill Thompson would have. So Crack-a-Claus himself decided to go with the IGG. He runs around with his chest puffed out, right? Yeah. Right, and they're doing now, and Cy Ray is leading the charge of doing now what they did to him while he was initially arrested, and just burying him in accusations and burying him in data that nobody's ever going to see. Show us your data. Wow, I got a program on my computer. You could sit there and watch everywhere he went for 6 months. What? What the fuck is that, Cy Ray? And how is that evidence that he committed the crime? Because you admit, and everybody admits, that during the time of the crime, Bryan Koberger was just, nobody knew where he was. Like I said, for all you know, he was in the woods masturbating, star fucking gazing, bear hunting, right? Hooking with hookers, doing drugs. I don't know. You don't know what he did for those 2 hours. So that means you can't place him directly in the home. That's why you see the daisy chain of bullshit. This car, this camera, that camera, this blurry image, that blurry image. It's just incredible that he would even sit in the same room and talk to Cy Ray. Cy Ray is laying out the fucking path that Bryan can take to get his probable cause. Or what is it? Not probable cause. Whatever this PCR is, I forget. But you know what I mean. I don't even know that he's got. Listen. Your motions to dismiss are going to be based on prosecutorial misconduct, and the motions to dismiss things that they hid from the defense, or the defense was so overwhelmed in their discovery process that they didn't have time, nor did they even realize that knife sheath. What's up there, Senior Bazowski? I catch you once in a while. I jump in your channel. If I'm not mistaken, I may have emailed you, but it could have been someone else. Senior Wazowski. I could be. I don't remember if it was you or not. If you guys don't mind, hit that like. Get me in the algorithm. It's not. I don't need the followers or the. Although I don't mind. You can't follow me. You can actually only subscribe, because I don't do this for any kind of pay. But hit that like. Yeah, I thought I may have sent you an email the other day. I can go. Hang on, folks. I'm going to ramble. Let me see who I said. Maybe it was someone else, and I'm just thinking it might have been you. Let me see here. No, it wasn't you. I'm sorry. I keep getting you two confused. It was Shadow Ghost. How many of you guys watch that guy, Shadow Ghost? Shadow Ghost is pretty cool. He's got some stuff he shows. Did you see Lana's post that Tiango has the same last four numbers as Bryan Koberger? Is Tiango a cop? Are you talking about the Cy Ray? Yeah. I watched Shadow Ghost when he did the boxing videos. Yeah, he went from boxing to this. He's a very well-spoken, and I think he's a very well-prepared individual. Puts me to shame. There's no question about it. He's definitely what he targets and what he pays attention to, whether you like his and I can't say everything he puts forward I believe or anything like that, but he does put in the effort, and he does have a lot of knowledge. And yeah, sometimes he's a good break from someone like myself. Lana too. Lana does a lot of definite good. I live in New York myself. I live over by the Great Lakes. I'm in what you would call Western New York. And I'm 300 and something miles away from New York City, thank God. So what was it? I think Cy Ray's doing more harm to the victims than I think he realizes. I think him coming forward, beating his chest, Bryan did it, is a huge mistake. It's a huge miscalculation. I guarantee Bryan Koberger listens to just Cy Ray and a couple of those interviews, and his attorney is going to have all the arrows pointing in the same direction of what they need to question. And this post-conviction relief, that's what it is. I think one of the main things in the post-conviction relief is Hitler telling the prosecution of the state to come up with some understanding that they can agree on to introduce the tip. And the tip is just crazy. You're downstate. Yeah, so there's a few New Yorkers in here. About. That's the best I can do with a Scottish accent. About. King Christopher, good to see you. Yeah. No, there's a lot of good people out here, man. And I Mark and Betty, I absolutely did not want anybody's names mentioned in that stream yesterday, and I put an end to it very quickly. I didn't like what happened with the two guests, but you can't control what you can't control. So when Twiz and Kathy got a little bit upset with each other, there's nothing I can do with it. Yeah, I think Cy Ray is a very cocky, very sure of himself. He could place Bryan Koberger on the fucking moon. Cy Ray can tell us just about anything that Cy Ray wants us to tell him, as long as we just believe Cy Ray. And Cy Ray is the beginning and end all of information on cellular data. I still say Cy is Twiz is Cy Ray. Get the hell out of here. Their voices aren't even close. Unbelievable. I live in the Bronx, 1 block from Yonkers, so the zone is my stupid. There you go. Hail to the communist. All right, here, I've been talking for a while. I'm going to put, let me see here. Here, copied, and paste. For anybody who would like to come in, the show's actually, I'm going an hour, which is kind of nice. Pin message. So anyone is free to come in. If you do come in and I don't notice you, it's because I watch Yahoo more than I watch the StreamYard stream. I don't know why I do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. But I just like the interaction on Yahoo better than I do on StreamYard. Although, yeah. Look at you learning new shit. Yeah. That's because someone told me, I think that person's name was Alicia, how to pin that. Brooklyn, baby. Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, Kathy is very interesting. I get a kick out of her robotic pronunciation of the dates, 2026. That's why I call her an AI. One time she was reading some document, and she asked the chat room, like she's getting into the most interesting part of the document. She says, if you guys would rather me not read all of this, and I'm like, hey, AI, keep reading. No, I didn't watch the whole interview. I want to be fair. I watched enough of it, and I think a lot of things need to be clear up in the justice system. I think first and foremost, there should be a written rule that experts cannot disclose their work with the defense, that they're held to the same compliance of secrecy as the attorney. I don't know how that doesn't already exist. I don't care if you work for them for free or not. Being paid should have no fucking bearing on whether you should be able to talk about private information that was collected during the defense's time of representing Bryan. You could be a free representative for the defense, a free expert, or you could be a paid expert. There has to be some standard shutting these people the fuck up. And listen, this is a basic thing that may separate lawyers from people like you and me. And this is the reason why I didn't even want to go to law school. If you did it, and my job is to defend you and keep you from going to jail, I have a real fucking problem with that. I have a moral compass that just wouldn't let me do it. And now that doesn't make me any better than anybody that's a lawyer. But you have to understand that the lawyer themselves, irrespective of their client's innocence or guilt, are there to defend them from the charges placed at the feet of them by the government. And they're to do everything possible to carry out that task of finding that person not guilty. And so when you bring in experts, I don't know, man, if an expert has the capacity to do what he's doing, or doing even what Cy Ray did, or not Cy Ray, but Turvey. Whitcomb, I agree. Whitcomb he had nothing to do with the case at all. He was an outside book writer that reviewed information and made his comments. But Turvey and Cy Ray, did they really have? Is it really okay for them to come forward like that? Oh, don't worry. I think the Bryan Koberger's family, or people that are close to the family, or people that are got any knowledge of what's happening, I'm fairly sure that they're not going to be that confused about Cy Ray's particular. Look I spelled Cy Ray's name wrong. Yesterday I spelled Bryan wrong. Today I spelled Cy Ray's name wrong. Look at that. It's CY. I put SY. So for all of you people that are real anal about spelling, and I suck at it, at least, when I do catch myself being wrong, I will make a point to point it out myself. Oh my God. There we go. We got Lara, aka Regina. We do have someone new on the channel here. We have a guest. Lara.
Hello.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, if you could.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just have my iPad. I'm driving.
Oh God, be careful.
It's me, Regina Phalange, the one that tried to rob a bank.
Oh, cool. What's going on?
Yeah, we talked through chat. We both tried to get arrested, so you get off drugs, and it worked.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm Regina Phalange, like from Friends.
Cool. So what's going on?
I don't know if you can even see me.
No, not
I
really.
am driving home. I don't know. I went to Marshall's, bought a bunch of stuff, and I'm watching Two Dogs and listening to you.
Oh, nice. What do you got to say about the Koberger case?
The Koberger. I do not know. Like I know a lot. Brian Koberger could have done this. Like honestly, like when people are saying like there's no connection, but I've been watching and listening for about. I don't even like to call it true crime. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird to me. But anyway, he could have done this. Like I don't know. You don't know. We don't. None of us know any of those people, but we have just been watching, and we know too much. I feel, and we know too little. So that's why everything's so confusing.
Well, there's a
Because
lot
when
to
this
know,
happens,
if you pay attention to what the government's released and the way they assembled their case against Koberger, that's generally where a lot of us agree. When it's not about whether he did it or not do it, but just because you caught a guy, let's say he did do it, but you violated constitutional norms and you went beyond your guardrail, you broke through and you lied and you got warrants based on false information, which is what they did, then that is not a convictable offense at that point, even if he did it. And that's America's justice system, right? So that's really what I think a lot of us are paying attention to. And Cy Ray is adding
100%.
to the argument. What's that?
No, 100%. Like there's good cops out there that know who did something, and they'll wait for years to do it right. And they just they were like, "Oh, Brian Koberger did it. Let's go get him." They did it sloppily. They totally did. Like he could have just went in there and been like lawyer, like, and I don't know why they didn't try to talk to him first.
Wait a second. I
don't know.
I have something to say to the chat room. Apparently, I did spell Cy Ray correctly. So for the people that are anal about spelling, take that. Somebody spelled it in the chat room CY, so that's why I assumed I spelled it wrong. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. Who cares about his name? Is that his real name?
Yeah.
Cy Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What is he doing? He's like, a little gremlin. I don't know. He's like causing trouble everywhere.
Yeah, he's not doing anybody any good from either side. And I think
No,
he's doing a lot of
that
harm to the
interview
prosecution.
today.
I think he's still doing a
That
lot of harm to the
interview
prosecution.
today.
What?
Yes, he is. Like when he was talking to Steve and Olivia today, I like it was just crazy. He was basically telling them like to get prepared because they did everything wrong. Yeah, and even Steve at one point and the mom were like, yeah, they should just let him out. Like they said that at a point.
Yeah, he's helping Bryan Koberger, even
Did
though he's
you
yelling
heard
Bryan
that? I
Koberger's
was like,
guilty.
wow. And I know people don't like that family. Uh, I like, I like them because I know someone did that to me. Like my dad is the oldest of seven brothers.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Be like that. It's a bad spot.
You're breaking up real bad.
You can't even see.
Yeah,
It's a bad for 30 seconds.
yeah, you can barely hear what you're saying. It's chopped up. It's very bad. What was I going to say? He's a serial killer. He said.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Is,
Kind of. It's still
am I
choppy.
okay?
It's still choppy on my end. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
this is a bad spot. It
because
should,
you're
it'll
driving.
go
Yeah,
away in like 10 more seconds. I always lose service right here.
you're free. You're freezing up and everything. Roboting. You spell
Okay,
check. People are telling me. Was it?
oh God.
So in the scheme of
Yes.
things, everything has come full circle now. We've been at this for 3 years. It'll be 4 years, November 13, 2026. And that'll be the 4th year anniversary. And so far, all we've gotten are lies, convoluted data, things that you have to believe with no fact to support the argument that that's his car. And it's crazy. The entire timeline is wrong. Cy Ray has said what I've been saying for a whole bunch of time, that their inaccuracies matter because you've applied for warrants. Therefore, anything that you received as evidence against the defendant shall not be used in court because it came from a warrant that was lies. And now he even said the other day
Hello?
they knew that they were wrong and they didn't correct it. That means that it was intentional to continue to use these lies. And that's a Brady violation, Gigolo violation, and the people involved in that should all be given strikes. And he is
Hi.
you
Can
kind of
you hear
dropped.
me?
No.
Yeah,
When you get
that's a
stationary,
bad spot.
check back in. I think driving doesn't help.
Yeah, I've never done this before.
Yeah, when you get stationary, check back in.
All right, yeah, I'll come back in like if you're still on in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right, bye. Bye, everyone.
100%, Nancy says. Cy is using the trust me bro approach. Yeah, because Cy is all about Cy Ray, right? Only him and some other professionals on his level of intelligence are able to decipher Bryan Koberger's movements. I I also think that law enforcement is too infested with this technology. I think a lot of us are. This technology is great, but this technology alone to convict people of crimes is rather shady in my opinion. And in as much as it's left up to the interpretation, and your interpretation is influenced by the narrative that you're sold. So the context is the real problem. And context itself should be derived from the factual information laid at your feet, not from somebody throwing papers at you and telling you what it all means. And that's exactly what happens, be it in this case or any other case. And that's not how a context is created. Context should be based solely on data that's verifiable, and that's the end of it. And if mankind didn't work that way, and areas where it matters, food, housing, electricity, automobiles, everything that we have would be no good, right? It's one thing to say, let's build 100,000-ton warship. I mean, how's that going to float, guys? Well, we're going to have to make sure it displaces more air than it does, blah, 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 and the science kicks in, and it's based on fact, and blah, boom, there it is, USS Nimitz. We need to get a 600,000-pound device in the air to fly. Well, that's great. But you need absolute information to support these kind of ideas. And when it comes to a crime, it's the same thing. I can't tell you the crimes that I committed and were never charged because the evidence didn't support charging me. And I wouldn't admit to it. I wasn't going to take a plea deal. And I'm just not trying to be braggadocious or anything of that nature. It's simply a fact. The justice system is a tool, and if you follow the tools, you get to the best answer you can. And sometimes that answer is you cannot charge nor arrest somebody. That's the way it is. And in cases where you put evidence or information to obtain a search warrant or an arrest warrant, and it's faulty and it doesn't hold the test of fucking truth, then anything you derive from that is no longer admissible in court. And I suggest to you that if he gets post-conviction relief and they go at him again, any decent lawyer is going to wipe out all the evidence that's already been used. They're going to get that squashed. And if it doesn't get squashed, it'll get squashed in an appeal. They knowingly misled the court when they applied for that warrant. And I said that in the beginning because a warrant should never have things in it like it's my experience as a police officer. Right? Now, you can make that statement if you're describing what the three witnesses are saying. It's been my experiences that witnesses in an incident consistent with this crime. But you got three witnesses. You see, your opinion can matter as a cop as long as you got something to support your fucking opinion. That's when it went south for me. That serial killer part. Get a Clue has revealed a lot about Cy before he vanished. Get a Clue. What did Get a Clue say? Why do I know that name, Get a Clue? Oh, I know that guy. Where's his channel? What's his channel name? I used to watch his channel. That guy's a trip, man. Get a Clue. Now, so Get a Clue did vanish. Right there. Lawson Casa. He did vanish. It's kind of crazy. But he was all about the car and the driving he got mad at me. That's the guy that got furious with me because I brought forward that brass is destructive to DNA. That DNA does not survive on brass at all for any length of usable time. That's why they don't swab gun cartridges for DNA. Yeah, he was pretty good, but he was also pretty fucked up in his own way. But boy, did he get mad when those fucking half-wits over there at these other channels that they brought up yesterday, and I was going to get to it. It was in my show notes, but they brought up that the brass is destructive to DNA, but they don't really know what they're talking about. And then he gets into this technical definition, and the technical definition that he got into was 100% correct. I may have misinterpreted a piece of it, but the end result was absolutely the same. Brass destroys DNA. I remember that guy, Get a Clue. I'm glad you brought his name up, man. Yeah, he wasn't happy at all. Boy, but he was mad. Mad like a boy. You'd have thought someone slapped him. No, I don't think I vanished him. I don't think I had anything to do with it. No, I don't think so at all. Some of the stuff he showed was very interesting. That's why I watched the guy. And I like when he would go into his rants, he would blow up about how all these people are getting all these viewers and making all this money. And yet somebody as valuable as me is not. It was like funny as fuck just to listen to him. Yeah. He was very upset that the IQ of the average fucking listener is just too low to gravitate to his show and only his show. That was one of his big beefs. Oh yeah, he'd get mad on a lot of things. Just livid. I mean, to the heart, mad as a motherfucker. It was like somebody was fucking snapping a wet towel at his ass. It was crazy. But he did have some valuable insights, and he did have some skills. I can't take that away from him. But I think he's even worse than me when it comes to public relations. And I could be pretty fucking crass and fucked up. I mean, I think that's kind of, I acknowledge that. I think he was an attorney. He might have been an attorney. I don't think he was. I don't really care what he was. He was entertaining in the aspect of, to me, the most entertaining thing about him was his anger over people not getting thousands of followers. I mean, I've had this channel since 23, and now it's 26, and I've only got 2,900 viewers. Right? If you guys don't mind hitting like, I'd appreciate it. We're only 21 away from getting to the 100. 100 is needed to get in the algorithm. He had great car ID skills. Yeah. He really did. And he back up what he would say. Look, I think the guy did have value for the community, but I think he expected to be an instant sensation. And I think he thought he was so much smarter than the rest of us that I don't know. Right? I mean, I at times think that too. I hear some of the things people are saying, and I think to myself, you can't really be that fucking stupid. Some of the things I see people post. But, it is what it is. What happened here? Oh, notifications came up. I don't want that. All right, folks. This has been a good stream here. It's been quite a while. It's been, I don't even know. What does it say here? A while. Yeah, I used to enjoy watching him, but I would always wait till he exploded. And he would explode not only on the air, but in his comment section too. I think he had a different name for a while. Yeah, he was Get a Clue, then he was something else. He was way too sensitive, man. Yeah, if you went against his belief, he would flip the fuck out. Constantly, and it was like you could trigger that guy immediately. It wasn't that hard to trigger him. And I think I don't know if people realize that's what they were doing, but that's how he would respond. He was like a hand grenade with no pin, and just waiting for somebody to give him a reason to let go of that handle. Yeah, man, I think he had some anger issues. It was all our faults. The viewers, the lack of viewers, the questions people, the points they make. He didn't want to hear none of it. Although I will say that I'll never forget that he identified a Chrysler 300 as one of the vehicles in the early morning hours at daylight that went behind that building. And I don't think anybody in the world could have argued with that analysis that was a Chrysler 300, because factually he did eventually show that there was a resident that owned a Chrysler 300 that parked in that back lot. Yeah, he wanted to earn money. He wanted to earn money from this. I was weird. Look, and I don't begrudge anybody earning money. People got to earn a living. If this is one way to do it, go for it. I don't think I have the personality to be, this influencer. I'm grateful that 3,000 people are hanging out. And then coming in, 100 here, 100 there, listening to them after, commenting. I read, just so you know, I read all your comments. I thumbs up the comments. If your comment is like way off the fucking trail, I just remove you. So yeah, I do. I don't know. I had someone in there the other day talking some rude shit. I just removed them. They didn't understand my argument about believing. Belief is it's a neurological response. It's a chemical induced act. Like exercise. It does something to your physiology. Okay. Believing is a gift that we have as humans. It's unique to us. And you should never apply belief to information provided by man, no matter what the information is. You're supposed to think. Believing, when you believe, folks, you accept something as true in spite of all evidence, either being the lack of evidence or contradicting evidence. Okay? So belief is an extraordinarily powerful thing that we all possess. And I'm convinced that it's the educational system that have turned us from thinkers into believers. And that's why I say you should only believe in God, in your spirituality, or things of that nature. That's the strength of your belief. Keep it there. Don't allow it to enter your day-to-day life. And this person had a problem with me saying that, like I'm contradicting myself. And I don't see any contradiction in what I'm telling you. You do not have faith that your car will start. Faith and belief belong together. They don't belong in your daily routine. You don't have faith that your oven's going to turn on because you turn the switch. That's not an act of faith. That's a repetitive behavior with a specific result that you've come to expect, not because you believe in the magic of ovens or the magic of electricity. It just is, right? It is. It's a life experience. Now, if you want to think about turning on your oven and the intricacies of how an oven works, that's fine. But you don't have faith your car is going to start. You go out to your car with the expectation it's going to start because the last 1,000 fucking times it did. Trust me, one day that won't happen. You'll go out to start your car and it won't start, right? If you own a car long enough, that is in your future. That literally is in your future. That's one of the many things. It won't stop. How many times do you push the brake pedal? And it won't stop now. That's in your future if you own a car long enough. Difficulty in stopping, difficulty in steering, difficulty in starting, difficulty in driving, difficulty in acceleration, right? But imagine if you applied faith to just the difficulties. You probably would end up with having difficulties with your vehicle. You probably wouldn't have had if you just shut the fuck up on believing things. You just dealt with it as it is. It's a man-made object. That's all. It's a creation of man. There's no need to believe in it. There's no need to have faith in what it will or will not do. Save that for your religious or your spiritual understandings of the universe and the world you live in, where you can believe in a God in spite of evidence saying there is no God, in spite of everybody telling you that it's wrong. You can still believe in God, but don't believe Koberger did it and don't believe Koberger didn't do it. Do not apply your power to believe to circumstances that are created by man. It's just a sad thing to do. Think about it. Think it through. Did Koberger did it? It's as likely he did as he didn't. But that really isn't what we're questioning here. We're questioning how our government got to Koberger. We're questioning why the government felt the need to lie on how they got to Koberger. Because it's evident they know that particular process wouldn't have been constitutionally fair. It steps outside their border. And so they now need to hide it. It's obvious what they did. And it's not because I believe all government's corrupt. If you notice, and if you were to go back and track what I've said the police had a huge case of tunnel vision, and it's a very common problem when people are investigating things. It's a very common problem for everyday people, including me, this tunnel vision. And in an investigation, it could be the disastrous results that you can obtain from tunnel vision are beyond comprehension. Corvette's doing awesome. So you've got to be very careful, or at least be conscious of the idea that your power to believe, and like, let's take you, if you believe in Jesus Christ. I respect that. And your power, your belief, your understanding, your connection to this man, Jesus Christ, to this God, Jesus Christ, to however you envision Jesus Christ is special to you. And you may find other people that share that special belief. And that's where you come together. And you can form communities, religious communities, churches. That's fantastic. I think that's awesome. You know how special this universe and how special this world is and how intricate and amazing a flower, a blade of grass, or an insect, or a dog, or another human being. You can understand it, not with intricate understanding of the science behind it, but that it even exists at all. The wonderment of existence and the creation by a God. To believe in that is strong, powerful, and awesome. And I suggest everybody exercise that particular power of belief in something, even if you believe in nothing, right? But when it comes to day-to-day information, be it a criminal case against a man named Koberger, or anything else that's provided to you by human beings, think it through. Think it through. Think about it. Wrestle with both pro and cons. Allow yourself to hear the negativity about what you think may be true. And allow yourself to think that what you're thinking is true is false. Right? That's the power of thinking. The power of thinking allows you to hear both sides, every side, all sides, and weigh the balance on the scales in your mind, and come to a likely understanding for your own satisfaction, your own peace of mind when it comes to things in man's world. And you do that all the time in a sense and don't even realize you're doing it. Now, when we get into the intricacies of human behavior and human actions and court cases and politics, there's no better thing to have at your disposal than your capacity to think without belief. There's nothing more powerful than that, because then you can actually take people, like I said the other day. I don't like the Clintons at all. But until evidence is shown, I will not believe that they killed anybody at all, ever, until evidence shows otherwise. I dislike them deeply, but that doesn't give me the right to make judgments against them and convince myself that they're murderers. They may be, but there's no fact to support it. And so I leave it at that. No evidence, therefore there's nothing worth talking. It's like Bigfoot for me. I don't want to discuss Bigfoot. I don't think Bigfoot exists because the evidence to support Bigfoot's existence has all been proven false, okay? Therefore, Bigfoot doesn't exist for me. If evidence shows up that verifies 100% the Bigfoot animal exists, I'd be happy to welcome that into my life. I'll be happy to accept that, and I want to see one, okay? Same thing with UFOs. There was a time, a long time ago, where I thought or actually believed that they were real. And, this nonsense, they came and helped us build this and help us. I don't think that that's true at all. I think there's absolutely zero evidence that beings from another universe have come here. I think there's just nothing to support that argument. And in fact, when you get into the science of it, the odds of it being true are astronomically, amazingly impossible. There's a guy on X that I banter with back and forth that tells us this stuff is real. Well, we got fusion. I don't care if we have fusion energy. The amount of energy it would take to go from here to the closest star would be the equivalent of the amount of energy stored in the planet Jupiter. How in the hell are we going to harness the power of an entire planet the size of Jupiter to fuel our craft to go that far? The energy requirements to go from one fucking solar system to another defy our brain's capacity to understand. And so to think that technology will get you out of this ridge, that technology will get us across the universe, I'm sorry, that can't be true. There's no evidence to support that. And it's absolutely wrong to believe that. You're safer to accept the fact that technology, although awesome, what has it really done for us? We can communicate, we can talk on the internet, we can order groceries without leaving our house, we can drive, we can fly. Don't get me wrong. Technology plays a big part in our life. But the thought or the belief that technology in and of itself will get us to another fucking solar system, I'm sorry. The amount of energy required to go from here to there cannot be changed. And if you talk about like warp drive, or if you talk about transporters, the amount of energy required to move any piece of matter from here to there, the energy to do that is beyond our capacity to produce or harness currently. Maybe somewhere in the future. But I'm not even sure that that's going to be true. I really don't think that's going to be true. I think we're going to be a species that is active in its own solar system. A species that'll go to the moon and mine helium-3 for our fusion reactors, for our reactors that are aboard our spacecraft, to go to the asteroid belt and do some mining. I think that's where humans are going over the next several hundred years. Not flying from here to fucking Proxima Centauri. I mean, that takes a belief, and I just don't believe. I look at the science and I look at the information, and the data that I can observe and that's been shared just tells us that's not really true. It's not the case. Factually, it's beyond our capacity. And technology alone cannot solve that. And if it can, it could take thousands of years. Yeah, I don't accept the idea that aliens have come here and they're flying around here. I just don't accept that. The evidence isn't there. And for every piece of evidence that everybody keeps arguing this proves it, it doesn't. It's an image on a video fucking frame. I suspect that whatever we're seeing in our skies that are unexplainable are craft that are made by man, not some alien from across the universe. So, anyway, Twizzlestick showed up, and I'm right here at the end of the stream, though, Twiz. I'm going to jump down, let you guys have your evening back. It's 11:35 a.m. New York Eastern Standard Time. This is your friend, your pal, and your enemy. Good old Sergeant Friday. I'm going to sign off and wish you all a good night. We'll be back again as more shit breaks. And don't forget the Koberger versus Cy Ray fight is one we need to keep an eye on. So be good, and we'll talk with you all again. Oh, Laura, I was on YouTube watching that stream. I apologize. You're in the back room here. I didn't even see you. Have a good night.